Thanks, Sierra. Yeah, in the pivot map, it could be what is considered the biggest unknown out of this entire tournament, with TSM on this double duelist composition with 7 on the Euro that they've been workshopping versus an Envy composition that has yet to drop more than 3 rounds total on this map, as they've now played both Brazilian teams that made it to the Ascension main event on that map so far. Vance, it's utter domination versus whatever TSM's got. We'll find out.
That's the thing. A 13-0 against Delay and a 13-3 against Solid shows the dominance for TSM. But again, the last time these two teams played against each other on this map was like, what, quarterfinals, upper of stage 3, so locally. But that was still on the side of Envy. This time, things are different, though. You have a Whaley out for Team Latino and 7 back on the duelist. No more Chamber, no more Senti for the side of TSM, and Kane Zero sticks on to this Clove instead of a Brimstone. Expect here these dive to continue to happen on TSM on the attack to try to take down the position, the weak side that they have, to avoid the nerdy trips and traps of Inspire.
The reason TSM decided to start off with this attack, they want to overwhelm the team that lives to overwhelm. Extra stuck up in the showers, and TP's out before getting punished, and Ion with the crunch. What a marvelous trap setup in the bathroom that lets it just be down on Timatino on the entry. Has picked that spike back up, but the position is beyond obvious, and Envy lay waste on the pistol.
You can already see that the studying is there and what they're trying to do when punishing for these A-side hits. The Prowler clears out towards the U-Haul, so you fall back, and then you have very similar pathing to a Ray's satchel into the back of the APC. This time, it's a much aggressive dive that you have with the Whaley that allows for them to open up with the Kane Zero. But as they try to flood back at the showers, what a beautiful crossfire setup into that spot. It was read, it was studied to try to take him down, but the firepower is still too good on the side of Envy as they close out the pistol round finally for the first, well, at least winning a good pistol round, sorry, on this map.
As tried and true a read as one can get, Envy, despite the gap in time from TSM playing on this map, they have seen this story before. And they know how to stop something even as blasphemously aggressive as this.
No plans for TSM too. They can't really go for this stinger buy as well. Yeah. They're just trying to see for our Envy side if they are going to go for these overextensions, trying to grab some ore control on their side too. So they kind of had the cavalry and the firing squad to cover up towards that showers. As it quiets down, they have to make the move. They'll walk into the jiggle peaks of Poppin and just try to salvage this orb again.
Quick entry from 7. Off the blind side. Poppin will just go flash for flash. Not dip into the hall, though. Fearful of what he may meet. Rewind out from Timo to try and get a second frag into the saturate. Vorn is eventually able to clear it, but it just requires so many resources, so much dedication with just the pistols in your hand. Alvin Boy once again on that proxy Senti, gonna have to make some waves in these mid rounds to make sure that the rest of this high-flying comp gets a lot of pressure. Of course, again, pistol round, nothing doing this time around. So Envy up 2-0 on the defense.
Yeah, well, at least 2 very good hands being shown by TSM on how they want to control this map around Whaley. So you have 2 different types of looks where you want to go for deep dives for these full site controls, or site hits rather, and then the second one over here using a recall and also the brimstone smoke just at the entrance, so nobody could really crossfire from that back of that B site. So it allows for you to just isolate that fight in the middle, maybe try to win that into the later rounds when you have weapons to work with, control the orb. And when you start working inserts for the attack side for TSM with the showers, taking that lead control, it allows for you to take the full map in your favor.
Big question here. Does Envy find that same stomp that they have so far this entire tournament? Already, Poppin's presence with these birds in the garden met with something a little bit new. That Fade Haunt out just to force them a step back rather than playing committally either all the way in or all the way out. So TSM kind of have their pick on this bonus with where they can end up, as Envy is forced to not really focus anywhere just yet.
At least just playing for inserts here. You didn't really have any early showers control on that side here of TSM because of the smoke star being consistently thrown from the Clove over on that A side. So they're just trying to go for a pick here, long range into B.
140 on a Timo. Everybody has heavy shields, so it'll be tough for him to finalize a frag, but everybody's too scared. We're out of there. TSM gonna try and go for the A crunch. Still, that shower's presence has to get cleared by the Prowler. Short has to get cleared manually by all of this other stupid stuff that Alvin Boy just kind of has to let go. But TSM is in by any way, shape, or form, and Timotino has been able to scope out the majority of this front line. It's just that Lamb's presence, funnily enough, on the bonus round that Envy is going to use to completely take over. A complete reversal of the pistol, and Inspire is God-touched this round. 3 freebies before Vora silences him, and is forced to use this Nightfall in the 2v1 to save face. And yet Poppin just continues running it down until all is said and done. Vora gets that next Nightfall on deck as they'll take the bonus.
Yeah, and he had to come up big for to control the U-Haul because Inspire was already trying to go for their quad there on that 1v1. If Inspire was able to take that one, but you're wasted out the ult from the Nightfall to just guarantee the round on your side. There's been moments so far since that pistol in that second round that you really were able to get full control into the sights and to have a clean post plan. This time you're just securing the round at least. And it was revolving a lot around Vora's utility, because if you didn't have an insert into showers, when they went for that triple TP, at least they have that second Prowler to clear into showers to allow for them to go for the split into the A site. So being able to take down Vora early could be a good game plan for Envy to not give a chance and good value on Timotino's dive here into these sites.
Yeah, the Prowlers are kind of your only real way to do any proper flushing. Otherwise, it's just throwing a duelist at the problem. And Envy, who are all too keen to meet you at the very first step of the attack, make that so hard to activate. TSM have to continue playing non-committally, and they'll just implant 7 on the hookah. See if he can come away with anything cheeky here as the smoke will dissipate and TSM will re-up for A short.
That's the good news. That second flash to try to find info towards long. There's nothing left here to re-clear towards hookah. It gives a chance for 7 as is duelist that we haven't seen a very long time to try to duel up and find isolated kills here on this B site. Keep the map bay as well if he gets the information. That will definitely call for the TSM pivot over on the A site, but they will walk into this setup once again from Inspire, playing all the way from heaven to play through some trip kills from heaven. I mean, look at that setup.
Yeah, that's nasty.
30 seconds left.
Always love seeing where Inspire's decided to set up shop. So creative. He's got such a myriad of ideas for where these trap wires should be set up. And again, it's purely to play for connection. It's to play for optimization so that it actually gets connection and isn't just something in your way that needs to be burned. And there you go. That's proc. Inspire gets a kill onto Alvin Boy and can now get even closer to the issue. Kane Zera does get cut short by GMD as Lambs has been found out, but yeah, there's no time to plant the spike. Envy can just stay away from the holes and TSM is forced to relent.
With 6 seconds left too, you saw that we felt rushed. Vor walked in, ran into the site just to try to get a plant on triple. He runs into a trip, and not only that, there's a camera there. So just staying up on top of heaven just nullifies you from really getting any value into the entry of the site. Beautiful anchoring being done here by Inspire into the A site. And you're seeing at least from this replay, the 4 types of map control that we're trying to show here on the side of TSM has always been like a Vora hip to hip to Timotino and to 7. So as soon as you spot a little bit of Prowler utility and you see the second piece of util coming through, prefer that shot because you know players are coming behind that and they're finding beautiful timings off the anticipated sprays of the swings of both 7 and Timotino. TSM has to rethink a little bit better now on how they could really try to muster up and take down these aggressive lines here from the defense.
Feels like a lot of it just has to be the raw contact. 7 and Timo have to make their way on somehow, and with absolutely nothing in the tank and breaching your way through a toxic screen, you can't come away with much. Still though, GMD manifests and beckons the stack to deal with him.
And what better than a dash into the site and you're getting hit by a trip again. It's so annoying to play against Inspire right now, who's been very good as well in regionally. There you go. You got to put that mic down. Maybe we'll get that little sip of water. But yeah, Inspire just in the regional plays as well in North America has been very good on his Cypher setups. If you're thinking about Lotus, for example, the cameras that he places up on Waterfall to really look down towards anybody trying to plant on, you know, the bend of that seaside Lotus, and even looks over the smokes tossed on Waterfall. So just these creative ideas that he consistently finds that allows this agent to get the maximum value to get the most stalls and even guaranteed kills for Inspire has been also another key component to Envy's run outside of this over-aggression out for King Zera and also of Eggster. So now this definitely calls for a halt and a pause here on how they could really try to break this util on the side of Inspire, because right now you're utilizing a lot of these prowlers just to get some early space and some close spacing and close scaling being done by the Waylay. That doesn't allow for you to get too much here to try to find these trips of Inspire when you're actually going into these site hits. And if you're looking across the platform of the rest of this composition, nothing breaks the trip for them. You have to start utilizing now Yoru clones at the right moments, prowlers at the same time, and start breaking those. But then it gives less utility for Timotino to get great value out of his dives. This might not be the type of play you want to do this right now, because you still have the convergence path that could be the biggest thing that allows for them to pop into this A-side split. But you have to think about these in these later rounds if they're able to convert this one here for TSM.
No peeking.
So many different layers of this Envy defense that TSM has bare bones to break through.
I don't know if they decide to cancel if maybe they heard the tap of the camera from Inspire over on A side, because everybody's walking back towards short. I don't know necessarily if this is going to be a late TP into a B side pop, knowing that Inspire is playing towards that A site, but they are starting to engage at that spot first.
Yeah, they're moving off the Prowler and Haunt. Sees on the lamps. Timo sees that as the go button to let that Virgin Pats fly. That does catch Kane. Oh, but he's not seen! He's not checked! Everybody from Envy forgiven and given free passage. Are we flawless this round, chat? Are you kidding me?
That is a backbreaker on the positioning of Kane. And again, you see now why he was playing these positions on Sunset, why he didn't get value for two of them, because he was, again, trigger disciplined to try to get these picks. And this time, he gets so much value out of it. And not only that, he has the crossfire set up from Eggster, who's not affected by the Waylay ult. And that just checkmates TSM's hit into this A site. Oh, dude, now you have Hail Marys and haymakers being thrown by the side of TSM, and he still can get into a site for a plant. Envy continuing to look super solid on the defensive halves, despite the compositional change from TSM.
Yeah, this is looking as unshakable as Envy's previous tenures on Bind. It's such a tough conversation to have of how heavily you approach a specific opening. Really feels like that was the one, too. The C's into the convergent paths. That's the one pocket that you fully concentrate. And you're not able to finalize. Envy gets there again so quickly. Poppin's call to it. Eggster's speed with his TPs, of course. It's just, you're not allowed to make mistakes from that point on.
And Envy, there was a miss. And sorry, Tarek, just wanted to add too, there was a missed timing as well, because when that C's actually did hit King Zera and he popped their ult, by the time they swung towards that back of the site, they can't see the tether anymore. So they have to make sure now, this time around, when they're going for these hits, that they really have to check every single corner right now because of King Zera's positioning.
It's just, like you said, too many backbreakers. Too many foolproof fallbacks for Envy to rely on. And so TSM once again have to use bodies for intel here. They will suss out. Inspire held in the back, and he just doesn't care. Spraying through the lamps, and he has all the purchase he needs. Rest of Envy once again here to play, and we're just back to the previous round, except TSM have worse guns and way worse morale. Alvin Boy takes a century seemingly to even land that last shot onto Inspire, and it's near flawless once more.
That was just very surprising of what happened on the exit for the side of TSM. Granted, it is an eco round that you have for the TSM side, but just as we mentioned before, they needed to find ways to break these trips. Not only did they throw Prowler, they threw a Prowler in the lines, they threw a clone in the lines, and it never broke it. Yet you still get another person trapped in there trying to scale out. And not only that, you also have the spike scaling towards the back, where everybody's flooding from, and where they were checkmated from in previous rounds. And at that eco run, you're just trying to get a plant spike down at the very least. That was just unfortunately not well seen.
Lion tucked out early by just running it down on the pit, and that's a good first door stop dealt with. Is this the round where Envy gets too braggadocious and lets flow their game plan? Kane Zera haven't used the not dead yet. to try to keep this fight contentious. We'll use it to open up Eggster from the backstab in the corner. Cainzera back up and kicking, and we'll just run it down one more time. Cainzera does not let that second life go to waste. And Envy have given Brazil their glory this game. It's 7-1.
And the idea that they have, again, is this seems like what we're cooking for the side of TSM is just a full anti-strat book on positioning on ults. You see from the very beginning, the C's that's being thrown and even the instant double dash from the Waylay doesn't really allow for the full pit to form out from Ions and even catch them off guard. As that pit goes down, though, that's still what's missing on that second layer. What do you have after that? Because they found successes on the entry on that pistol round with a double dash with that fade C's in the back of tank. But this round, they were able to get that, get Ions down. But as soon as it comes into spreading across the map, spreading across the site and getting into positions, they are getting out-timed by everybody. Everybody else from
across
NBA.
the board.
I can't even name one player because everybody found their value on these site holds and retakes.
Yeah, this is just such an elevated level of showing from Envy continuously on this map. They get the signals so quickly, and to their credit, TSM, it's pretty obvious what they're going to do a lot of the time. It's pretty telegraphed entrances because it's so drip or drown on top of this fade util, and possibly the Waylay ultis, although at the rate we're going, who knows if Timo's going to be able to use another one. It is scrapes that TSM are working with. It's, what, 17 kills across the lot of them? Egg and Kane have more than that among just them.
Is it a Silver Scrapes mention? I don't know where.
No, sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. But no, definitely.
Sometimes I make a reference and you know, you're too cultural, you're too old to know that I just was saying something dumb.
Oh no, but you are definitely right. It is scraps for TSM going into this round. And yes, there is a pit. Yes, there is a nightfall. But again, despite, even if you're able to get pings and value off the fade utility, if you're trying to go for an explosion with this half buy that you have, or this low buy on pistols that you have in a Stinger, it's still hard to cross into the site. They got to work as a group right now, as a team. Buddy systems there, all on a 4-1 split, one watching the TP cross. So they are trying to add this early pressure from TSM to force the TP from the A site.
Eggster gifted a second opportunity, and so a second flash must be thrown into the fray. Double cage to fully shroud him out and give Inspire a solo. And that'll get him to TSM. Have to re-up. TP once again crunch. They throw a snake bite all the way to that back hall as well, so TSM can at least scope out the B site itself, but the condensation is beginning. Popping on top of the cabbages. That will at least get him a couple steps in, and the rest of Envy activated. But Timo with the quick refrag leads this to a 2v2 on top of the spike plant. Does Vora hold as Timo plays police? Vora with just this sheriff in hand, and Timotino has been spotted. Spike heard. Ion has the key to both of these players' positioning and already found the rifle off of it. Vora, a mountain against a molehill, and it's easy for Ion. Envy keep too stable. It's the closest it's been seemingly so far, and yet it's still miles ahead for Envy.
Agreed. And it almost looked like Vora maybe, who was so good in that, round, the only round that they've gotten, actually. Unfortunately, couldn't win that 1v1 against Ion. That said, I love the flood from TSM into the site. This was perfect. Alvin going catches the rotate and cuts it. Unfortunately, couldn't pick up a weapon. I think that was the biggest opportunity here for TSM to pick up weapons, pit into the site, and try to guarantee that second round. But they missed that timing when you were trying to jump down from the hookah, pick up the spike, and go for a plat because they hurt the TP from behind. So you can't pit out. You can't, because you're giving a space and gap for the players to rotate from that back, especially when Eggster hits one with the operator. And TSM, they're holding on to the ults for this round with a rifle round. Now you're starting to see it's under the trip. The Prowler went under it.
On Inspire above the boxes, finds 7, susses out the clone. He knows Yoru all too well. And in the meanwhile, that Ditto will also be able to find one of the Lone Rangers in the hookah as well. Before a complete recommitment for Envy. The TP away, Poppin already making his way down sand. Envy live to own this map now. They so quickly encroach and make it impossible for you to even have another decision. Choice paralysis plaguing TSM's attack side that they chose to start on, that they had been seemingly workshopping all this time, and yet it seems that the weakness in the map pool still persists unless TSM has one hell of a defensive half of their own.
That's all we hope, probably, yeah. But if not, I just love how Envy's playing this map so far. Just how good the reads are from Inspire to place the trips at the right places for these early rounds, instantly punishing this hookah control that TSM was trying to take, not even allowing Vora to save his weapon onto the next round, putting TSM back into a mixed bags of tricks into their next rifle round. I think one of them is going to be broke, so they won't have the best of buys. But overall, just how they're playing off each other too, not only on the macro, but with the util. I just want to point out the fact that when Poppin's healing up his teammate, you go for a clone and a flash to just try to make sure if there is still presence of TSM out towards Fountain, because of the mid rounding and the info that you got off the hat was already disappeared. So it's just nice what we're doing here on the side of Envy for the defensive side to just always be one step ahead of what TSM's trying to do on their attack with this comp.
Seemingly TSM knew this ride was going to be bumpy. They have got to go the distance, take their way to halftime, and see if they can recover this. This defensive half still feels so indescribably decisive on the side of Envy. Poppin once again with this operator. Getting disrespectful with it, starting to twist the knife. Prowler, flash, he'll finally duck away and give Sand over. But next, you have Exter held close, and Poppin still able to burn that decoy, so Exter has the free lineup. He's only good for one, though. Alvin Boy on the way back down hookah, so Ion is found out before the convergent paths activates, and TSM should have all the mobility they need. Timotino rushes down the site and grabs two on the lineup, and TSM have found the foothold at the 11th hour.
And a 4K from Timotino too. If anything, though, it was still the first hand, the first attack showing here from Envy. If it wasn't for maybe two op shots that missed here on the side of Poppin, it would have been potentially a different story written this time around for Envy's favor. I mean, the position they had to bait out to bait for Exter to get value out of that spot. There was already a pick off from Poppin's op, who's been so good on Abyss previously. I mean, that could have been a highlight reel for Exter in that round. Instead, it's at least a round committed for TSM, an ult being expense, but still two more to utilize this round to try to salvage and make this a 9-3 half.
Timotino's already taken the wide corner, so Seven has to try and pierce this, force Exter with the TP back to negate the trap setup, but now he's just gonna dry peek it. And that clearing has been watched since the dawn of time by Envy's defense. Now you set up Poppin once again with the free op channel, and so TSM gotta re-aggress hookah again, find something somewhere there. Otherwise, this B exec is so cooked. You can see it from a mile away.
Face your fear!
Nightfall on the execution. Seven will walk up. Pop with the collab through Garden! And it's already over in one fell swoop! GMD meets chaos, which reigns on this defensive half by Envy, 10-2.
And Poppin just made it back from that previous round. Yeah, I missed two shots the previous round. Let me just get 2 for 1 this round here. And it nullifies, neuters the execution of TSM trying to get value off the pit over on that B site. That said, they went into an exit where Envy had a good read one more time. 4 players stacked inside that site. A trip to support the Clove into U-Haul with an Odin most likely. But they are at a stalemate for TSM. They could move forward, and hopefully they could turn it around on the second half. But before we get there, Melio's back on the stage with Winthrop's own moves.
Estou aqui com o Moobs, o melhor chamber do mundo. Is that true that you're best chamber in the world?
Oh, I don't know, bro. I had to talk to Baby Bay a little bit. He gave me some tips, but you know, I want to be up there.
Ele disse que vai perguntar pro Baby Bay, mas que ele tá quase lá. E já que ele enfrentou tantas desses dois times, eu vou colocar ele na fogueira sim e vou perguntar qual dos dois é melhor. I'm sorry I have to ask you. You've played both teams a lot. Which one is better?
Oh man, you can't put me on the spot like that, bro.
I'm sorry.
I'm a fan of good Valorant. You know, I think Envy proven themselves the entire split, but I think TSM's in really good form right now. I want to say it's TSM.
Ele disse pra, por favor, não me colocar na situação, mas os dois estão muito bem, a Envy tá num grande momento, mas que ele vai falar de TSM. E quero falar dessa bind, né? Por que que os caras são tão bons na bind, Moobs? Why is Envy so good playing binds? Is that the crazy style? Why is that?
I don't know. We were talking about it up there. I'm like, man, their bind is scary, bro. We would have banned it against them. You know, I think they're very confident. I think when Kane made his switch to Clove, comfort pick, it works a lot for them. You know, I think they're good on every map, to be honest. They're just a good team.
Ele disse que ele estava conversando com o pessoal do time dele lá em cima, né, sobre isso mesmo, porque eles são tão bons. E ele acha que a grande diferença agora é o Kani numa Clove para poder ter mais conforto para ele, mas que no final das contas a Envy é melhor em todo o mapa. Last question, prediction, who's gonna win?
TSM 3-2.
TSM 3-2 é isso. Vamos ver então se ele tá certo, porque essa bind aqui já foi, amigos.
Now I feel like Moves probably knows finally how it feels as talent to try to predict, you know, a favorite to come out on top in this series. When we had to bet against Winthrop or TSM, we never know because we just love good Valorant. And I love how I think he went from Envy first and TSM after on a 3-2. So, I mean, what can you really do?
I mean, you know, there's just so much love between everybody who made it to
Exactly.
Ascension from North America. Just so much respect among all of these players towards one another, and it's tough to root for anything apart from a good game when you're that good of a player and that respectful of a player as well. Moves, such a nice guy. Everybody from WU, happy to see them showing out for this Ascension Grand Final. Well, Envy got to 10-2 in the first half of the first map, and while we went to 24, they were able to come away with that. So does their bind continue to ring as true as it has against the best of the hosts of Brazil?
Yeah, if not the story, if it continues now with a dominant half from even TSM on the second map that ended 13-11. This time, though, it's TSM. They're showing a little bit of face. They're getting some kills towards the short A side, forcing Envy to rush into B, where it's currently being played soft site for TSM. It's definitely a hard site to retake on this map of bind, but at least you're playing a 5 versus 3, and you're looking to reflood.
Exter gonna poke his head out, try and get some free damage, and from there, seems like that's what the rest of Envy will try and do too. Just get away with as much as you can, and Kane's actually able to float away with a double for letting that overhealth pop up. Borges just gonna b-hop the rest of his way through that trouble and get TSM their own pistol round. So twin pistols mirrored by great reads on a macro level to get those stacks started. TSM understanding with minimal starting intel gained by Envy. They knew there was going to be that potential for a split push. They let the saturate fly into the back half of that stack, and then they just full swing it to guarantee themselves an advantage.
And if anything, you see the pivot and the rank experience coming out from MV side. They tried to go for a pop flash through Kane Zero smoke in the spawn to just try to cut the rotates from TSM and not give him a chance to go for the flood retakes. As you're sure some of them are going to try to hold util to flood back. Unfortunately, it was just mistimed, and then they got picked off here, allowing TSM to have some room to breathe. They found nothing on their attack side. They found a solid pistol in the second half to trade off pistols on this map and look in a stronghold their crossfire into the B side pop with a late lurk for an Inspire on the short A.
Trying to allow zero opportunities for the openers of this anti-eco spraying the second they hear the steps out from Extra's decoy, and they just keep on spraying until he's gone. TSM lay waste to the opening, and Envy meet just as much of a stalwart doorstop as TSM does in the opening of this. Inspire with that classic lurk, as always, though, is going to be able to come away with this outlaw. The question is, the hell does he do with it?
You gotta start hiding, though. It's Inspire with an outlaw that could pop down two players, being Seven and Alvin Boy. Going into the old school, drop my pistol as a flash, and then finally getting dropped by for a nice little quote-unquote simple play for those who know the reference. But it is still a solid anti-eco here for TSM. So two very good looks for TSM's holds. I mean, you try to flood out of the gates from the smoke. I'm sure you're trying to get another pop flash from Exter through the club smoke. But they just sprayed through it, dropped them all down, did not give a chance for Envy to really even set up and to cross that line of scrimmage into the B site.
Still quite the uphill battle here. TSM trying to meet the threats early yet again with these saves, and the Prowler yet again being the tool to get them forward there. Timotino, that's a nasty gap to find with the opening outlaw shot that'll force most of Poppin's regrowth tank off rip.
And they continue, though.
Wow, immediate extension. That was so quick on top of it. Envy just want to get it done here and now, but That just means Timo gets another free op shot. Bora ducking into the cubby. Does Envy try and exact onto this? No, Timo is still policing, and TSM have met the crowd here. The bonus round comes flying out of Envy's hands, and TSM already proved that their defense can be just as boisterous, if not more so than Envy's. Kainzera stands alone against a wide open audience that surely eventually finds him, right? If not the 3 in front, surely the 1 behind. Timo is up to 3, and TSM is not out of bind yet.
What a nice little pop in the very beginning here for TSM to look down and get the information on Sands. But as you're trying to come through, the amount of flashes you're trying to throw out by the side of Envy is being met up by counter flashes from 7 through the back of the spawn. And it almost looked like the dart that was being thrown out by Poppin actually hit 2 players in the back of the site. So thankfully, Bora swung out to keep them at bay. Thankfully, that wall was up. And thankfully, those flashes from 7 were there to not allow Envy to cross towards that back of the site and overtake the defenders in the back of B. Now they convert their bonus. They're putting Envy into a half by 2 Stingers Sheriffs. And this could be another very clean one here. They have the right number of players into the B side or A side split of Envy.
This looks formidable. So many Envy ecos are. And they live to clutch as well. They have like 50% more clutches than TSM across this tournament, despite playing almost an identical amount of rounds. These are the rounds. These are the moments that Envy lives to strive back from and take the dominant bind that they know they have in them. Re-entry now from TSM as the spike goes down, and TSM is skirting the outskirts. 7 just has open season, seemingly takes care of everything. Oh, give it to him. The shorty too. No, Inspire's gonna shut that down, but no more. The lineup is clear. The shuffle is available. And 7 did a hell of a lot of work against that anti-eco.
And this is difficult for Envy right now. As we talked about the struggles for TSM on their attack side, it's not necessarily the biggest struggles that you have for Envy because you need to be good on the counter utility from TSM side. And what I mean by that is these smokes are being placed down by Clove. They are the shortest smokes that we have in the game right now out of all of the controllers. So if you're able to stall out with the flashes that are being thrown by 7 again, you have these mollies for GMD, you have so much counter utility on that side, you're winning 20-second smokes from the Brimstone versus the 14 or whatever it is. I think it's 14.75 or something like that from the Clove. You're winning now the battle of the stalls, and now everybody's out in the open to try to get into the site for a plat. And the reason why I say it's a difficult thing for Envy, but not as difficult, is because they could still shoot back. So no matter what happens in that chaos, you're gonna have to be really good in the buddy system on your attack side as well for Envy to just take the upper hand in these brawls that could happen after these smokes dissipate.
Yeah, the trade frags have just seemed too important to negate from either side, really. It feels like you should almost always have a friend with you, especially for the reapproaches. And Envy, I mean, looking at how well they pack fought until 7 was able to concentrate Kane with the Saturate, that looked as clean as a save round could get. That looked as powerful as it could look. They had a lot of space to work with. They had a lot of openings in which they could maybe get, you know, a stinger flyby or a quick little shot on the Sheriff that we know Envy is good for more often than not. But yeah, if TSM is able to find that first opening, that first lurker early, like if Inspire can't gain enough space or if Poppin can't really activate anybody, then you lose so much momentum the other way.
Yeah, and I have to fact check myself. It's even shorter. It's 13.5 seconds for the close
yeah.
smoke, so even shorter. So they're already both down. Here's the stall coming out from the ult of the Waylay.
Yeah, double TP from TSM, and it's instantly met. Holy! Nobody from TSM finding their shots. What is this? Kane, even on the ultimate, is able to keep kicking for a hot minute. 7 all of a sudden by himself. The crunch play was loud and proud, but came up with absolutely nothing. Envy turning right around and destroying that attempt.
This is the second time that we get a convergence path that does get value. It does stall some players, but we're not checking our corner. You have time for Inspire to whiff shots with the Bucky, switch over to a Phantom, and still headshot the second player swinging through while you're being stunned, and somehow he's still alive. That's the crazy part about this for how you're able to hold off that FUD exec from TSM. And again, this is the problem as well that kind of ensues and that was talked about that was talked about a bit at the desk when they said here they've been banning this for such a long time. There's got to be a trump card. Definitely there has been. The issue right now is that you haven't really put these into officials yet. So as it still works out very well for your scrims, which is probably the reason why you're pulling out this composition for this very fight, it's not really put into the tests against a top opponent like Envy. So under the chaos, when you're trying to catch up the way that you are, when you're trying to be explosive, there are still some rocks that are left unturned when you're going for these flood execs because it hasn't been shown in practice, and they're just maybe unfortunately over prepped into what they're trying to bring into this map so far.
Yeah.
They still have a chance though. They have good rifles in this round.
Just hold on to this eco for dear life and try to stop as much of the openers as you can.
I've got your trail.
The dog with the gate crash will allow Envy pretty easy access in, but the decoy has to guarantee that complete lack of an op in the shower so Envy can fully take over. Now even the Seekers to fully contest Timatino and open up the A site. Envy has to use a lot, but it's what works. GMD hold up in Kane. Zera's smoke, and he sprays through down for 2 before Envy can counteract. Still though, Envy do have that front line of the site, and TSM choose to try and get close first. Timo, a missed window with the up, and Exter turns to Vora. The recovery from Envy is insane. Trapwire on the lamps destroyed. Exter mid-ultimate. Inspire finding 7 in the meantime. Alvin Boy having to avoid this Yoru ulti and then dip into the fray, but already making all the noise and getting hit by that gate crash. He is completely circled. Envy find their footing and dominate again to make it 12-6.
Also had to break the trip to rotate back, so Envy had the full information of where that rotate was coming from. The issue there now is just a missed shot from Timotino is taken full advantage of right over here by Exter. As you miss that shot, you miss the gap, you miss the trade, and is able to just understand that flank coming from behind because of the TPs that came through, and that's just unfortunate times now for TSM. Back into a double ult that they still have available that they carry into this round, but they don't have an op anymore. Thankfully, at least some rifles, and they're at full shields across the board. They're looking for a trap play. They're looking for aggression through the smoke, and they get it through the smoke.
Massive haunt found early by Vora, but that doesn't mean you get anything for the rest of this push. That doesn't matter though, really. It's Envy. They're gonna make it known. GMD catching Poppins jump. Inspire and Kane though, able to find their frontline frags. Next checkpoint set up, and it's 7 in the cubby, who can now let that decoy and TP fly to reposition and continue to stall out this B site.
And that's a very good move by him. After these 2 picks, forces a bit of util to fall back so he could ult into the retake, but that's wow you play it. Just rush through as soon as you hear the Euro, push through the smoke, get the pick, and it's only Timotino left.
How do they meet that crowd so well? Inspire just jumping right in front. And now Timo has to use everything just to get on the site and figure out the lineups. But as the smoke fades, the crowd conquers, and Envy have another dominant bind performance. They are 1 map away from a spot in VCT.